The tale of Atlantis has lingered in our minds for centuries, weaving its way through history, myth, and the fabric of human imagination. Mention the word Atlantis, and immediately images of lost cities, golden temples, and mystical powers spring to mind. It is a story both ancient and ever-present, capturing the curiosity of every generation. But what do we truly know about this fabled land? What truths have slipped through the cracks of time, and what has been crafted from the whispers of legend? The first mention of Atlantis comes to us through the writings of the Greek philosopher Plato, who described a great civilization, wealthy and powerful, that existed long before his time. According to Plato, Atlantis was a vast island, situated beyond the Pillars of Hercules, which is today known as the Strait of Gibraltar. But the story is not simple. Plato's accounts, in his dialogues Timaeus and Critias, speak of a mighty civilization whose power and influence grew to such an extent that it posed a threat to the ancient Mediterranean world. And then, in a dramatic twist, Atlantis sank into the sea, disappearing without a trace. The narrative of this once great civilization is steeped in mystery, but there are questions, so many questions. Was Plato simply spinning a tale of allegory to illustrate his philosophical ideas, or was he revealing the truth about a civilization that once existed? The mystery deepens when we realize that while Plato's accounts are the earliest we know, Atlantis had already become a part of the collective consciousness by his time. His stories of a rich, powerful, and tragic civilization seem almost too perfect to be mere fiction. Yet, no evidence has surfaced to prove the existence of Atlantis. No ruins, no artifacts, no conclusive proof that this land ever truly existed. Was Atlantis a real place, lost to time? Or is it a myth, a cautionary tale about hubris and the dangers of unchecked power? The debate continues, leaving us to wonder whether we'll ever uncover the truth hidden beneath the sands of time. And the more we explore, the more questions arise. Was Plato hiding something in his tale? Or was he simply telling a story too fantastic to be true? Plato's writings are the foundation upon which the entire legend of Atlantis stands, yet much about his story remains elusive and mysterious. The two dialogues in which he mentions Atlantis, Timaeus and Critias, were written around 360 BCE, but the details they contain leave more questions than answers. Plato tells us that Atlantis was a powerful island nation, far beyond the reaches of the ancient Mediterranean world. According to his story, the Atlanteans were descended from Poseidon, the god of the sea, and their civilization flourished for thousands of years before its sudden and catastrophic downfall. But what exactly was Plato's source? The story, as Plato describes it, is passed down to him by his ancestor Solon, who allegedly learned it during a trip to Egypt. The Egyptians, according to Plato, had records of Atlantis written on ancient tablets, tablets so old they were said to have been written around 9,000 years before Plato's time. If this is to be believed, it would mean that the story of Atlantis predates even the most ancient of known civilizations. Yet, there's an unsettling ambiguity in Plato's account. Some scholars argue that Plato was not relaying an actual historical account, but rather using the story of Atlantis as a way to explore his philosophical ideas about the ideal state, justice, and the dangers of power. Others, however, are convinced that Plato was speaking of a real place, one that was lost to the ages. The question remains, was Plato a historian, an allegorist, or perhaps a keeper of forgotten knowledge, sharing with us a story that we have yet to fully comprehend? If Atlantis existed, where exactly would it have been? The location of this lost continent has sparked fierce debates and inspired numerous theories, each more fascinating than the last. Plato told us that Atlantis was located beyond the Pillars of Hercules, in the vast ocean beyond the Mediterranean. For centuries, scholars and adventurers have sought to pinpoint its exact location, but with little success. One of the most popular theories places Atlantis somewhere in the Mediterranean Sea, with the island of Santorini often cited as a potential match. The volcanic eruption that occurred there around 1600 BCE left behind a large, submerged caldera, and some believe this catastrophic event could have been the inspiration for Plato's story of Atlantis's destruction. The similarities in the geological features of the island and Plato's description of the land have led some to wonder if Santorini could indeed be the remains of the lost continent. Others have suggested that Atlantis was located in the Caribbean, with the island of Bimini standing out as a potential candidate. In the 1960s, an underwater formation known as the Bimini Road was discovered near the island, sparking claims that it could be the remnants of an ancient Atlantean structure. The idea of a tropical paradise, rich in resources, fits well with Plato's description of Atlantis, and some believe that this is where the civilization might have thrived. Still, there are more radical theories. Some have speculated that Atlantis could have been located in Antarctica, where mysterious features hidden beneath the ice might indicate the existence of an ancient civilization. With modern satellite technology revealing hidden structures and landforms under the ice, the idea that Atlantis once lay at the South Pole is as tantalizing as it is controversial. The truth, however, remains elusive. Despite centuries of exploration, no definitive evidence has emerged to confirm the location of Atlantis. What if, like so many mysteries of the ancient world, the lost city of Atlantis is hidden in plain sight, waiting for the right moment, or the right mind, to uncover its secrets? The question of Atlantis's existence has been debated for centuries. Was it a real civilization, a powerful island that vanished into the ocean, or is it simply a myth, crafted to teach moral lessons about the dangers of greed and hubris? For many, Atlantis is as real as the myth of the Trojan War or the legend of King Arthur, a story that has been passed down through generations, its truth obscured by time and the imagination of storytellers. For others, the idea of Atlantis being a myth doesn't quite satisfy the evidence, or lack thereof, that surrounds it. There are those who argue that Plato was not merely inventing a story for philosophical purposes, but was, in fact, describing a real place that existed long before his time. After all, Plato was known for his meticulous attention to detail, and he took care to provide specific measurements and descriptions of Atlantis, including its geographical location, its impressive architecture, and its societal structure. But where does the evidence lie? Despite the many expeditions, both underwater and on land, no definitive proof of Atlantis has ever been found. Archaeologists, historians, and geologists have scoured the earth for clues, but every discovery, whether it be submerged ruins or anomalous structures, has been met with skepticism. Some believe that the lack of evidence is proof that Atlantis was never a real place, but rather an allegorical tale created by Plato to warn about the dangers of imperialism and the decline of moral values. And yet, every so often, new discoveries appear to offer a glimmer of hope. Could there have been an ancient civilization so advanced that it left behind no trace? Could Atlantis have been wiped off the map, its remains now buried beneath the shifting tides of history? The mystery endures, and with each passing year, the allure of Atlantis remains as potent as ever. The fall of Atlantis, as told by Plato, is one of the most dramatic and tragic aspects of its story. The mighty island, once a beacon of prosperity and power, was swallowed by the sea in a single catastrophic event. According to Plato, the destruction of Atlantis occurred in the span of a single day and night, with earthquakes, floods, and a series of other natural disasters contributing to its demise. In a matter of hours, the grand civilization sank beneath the waves, never to be seen again. But was this the whole story? Some theorists believe that Atlantis's destruction was not simply the result of a natural disaster, but rather the consequence of something far more complex. What if the downfall of Atlantis was not merely an accident of nature, but a carefully orchestrated event, perhaps even a warning to future generations? Some suggest that Atlantis's demise was a form of divine punishment, a retribution for the sins of its rulers or the arrogance of its people. There are other theories that suggest the fall of Atlantis was the result of human error, an over-reliance on technology, or the misuse of the very powers that once gave the civilization its greatness. If the Atlanteans possessed advanced technology, some speculate that they may have used it in dangerous ways, leading to their ultimate destruction. Could the catastrophe that wiped out Atlantis have been caused by the Atlanteans themselves, as a result of their own hubris? As we delve deeper into the story of Atlantis's fall, we are left with one fundamental question. Was the destruction of Atlantis simply an unfortunate accident, or was it something much more profound, a warning about the dangers of unchecked power, or perhaps a sign of something even darker? The answer, like so many things surrounding Atlantis, remains shrouded in mystery. As the legend of Atlantis persists, so does the theory that its fall wasn't just the result of a single, localized disaster, but rather part of a far more terrifying global cataclysm. Could Atlantis have been the victim of a worldwide event that wiped out several ancient civilizations at once? What if, instead of a simple sinking, the destruction of Atlantis was a signal, a warning from the ancient world about a larger, inevitable catastrophe? The theory of a global cataclysm is rooted in the idea that Atlantis's sudden disappearance wasn't an isolated incident, but part of a much greater, cosmic-scale disaster. The most compelling aspect of this theory is the connection to other ancient myths and global legends of massive floods, earth-shattering earthquakes, and the fall of great empires. In the ancient Sumerian texts, the Great Flood is described in chilling detail, mirroring the accounts found in the Bible. Could it be that such floods were not just myths, but memories of a shared global event that affected multiple civilizations simultaneously? Similar stories are found in every corner of the world, from the flood myths in Mesoamerican cultures to the tales of mighty empires falling from the heavens in the Hindu scriptures. Were these stories of catastrophic events simply folklore, or do they hint at a true, global calamity that forever altered the course of history? Some researchers have even suggested that Atlantis's fall could have been triggered by a massive asteroid impact, an event so devastating it would have sent shockwaves across the planet, sinking islands, creating tsunamis, and leading to a prolonged dark age for ancient civilizations. Studies of geological records show evidence of impacts from celestial bodies throughout history, and the possibility of such an event occurring around the time Atlantis supposedly disappeared offers a chilling glimpse into a reality that could have wiped out not only Atlantis, but countless other advanced civilizations. Others believe the event was more earthbound. Theories of widespread volcanic eruptions, global warming, and shifting tectonic plates propose that Atlantis could have been caught in the violent chaos of nature's upheaval. The rising sea levels, the rapid melting of glaciers, or even a series of seismic events might have contributed to the fall of this ancient land, causing entire societies to vanish in the blink of an eye. Could it be that Atlantis's destruction was more than just a lesson about the fragility of empires? Perhaps it was a warning from ancient times to those who would rise too quickly, accumulate too much power, and forget the balance of nature. And if the fall of Atlantis was indeed part of a much larger global catastrophe, what does that mean for us today? Are we too, in the age of technological advancement, unaware of the forces that could one day undo everything we have built? What if Atlantis wasn't just a lost city, but a civilization with knowledge far beyond anything we can imagine today? Ancient legends have long painted Atlantis as a land of great technological advancements, a place where science and wisdom flourished. But what if these stories were more than just metaphors or exaggerations? What if the Atlanteans really did possess technology that modern civilization has yet to understand? There are some who believe that Atlantis held secrets so advanced that they were deliberately erased from history, concealed by powerful forces that feared the knowledge it contained. One of the most popular theories revolves around the idea that the Atlanteans had discovered energy sources and technologies that we can only dream of today. Some speculate that they harnessed the power of sound, frequency, or even crystals to fuel their civilization. Imagine a world where cities were powered by resonance, or a society that could manipulate the elements, creating energy from sources that we have only begun to understand. Could it be that Atlantis's downfall came not from its pride or its hubris, but from the dangers of harnessing forces too powerful for humanity to control? Others believe that the wisdom of Atlantis wasn't just scientific, but spiritual. The Atlanteans were said to have possessed an ancient, esoteric knowledge, a profound understanding of the cosmos and the human spirit. What if their knowledge of the universe went beyond what we know today? Perhaps the people of Atlantis were deeply connected to metaphysical concepts, using their wisdom to guide not just their civilization's progress but their spiritual evolution as well. They could have understood the true nature of consciousness, energy, and the forces that bind the universe together. Could the fall of Atlantis be the result of humanity's failure to balance this sacred knowledge with the responsibility that came with it? Some have even suggested that the knowledge of Atlantis was passed down to other civilizations, seeds of wisdom scattered across time, hidden in plain sight. Could the Great Pyramids of Egypt, the advanced astronomical alignments of ancient cultures, or the cryptic symbols found in sacred texts be remnants of Atlantean knowledge? Did the ancient Egyptians, for instance, build their pyramids using knowledge that had its origins in Atlantis, passed down from those who survived its fall? The idea that Atlantis wasn't just a civilization lost in time, but the true birthplace of human technological and spiritual knowledge, is a tantalizing thought. But if that knowledge was so powerful, why has it been hidden? What are the powers at play today that might still be trying to suppress the truth about what Atlantis really knew? If Atlantis was real, it stands to reason that its influence would have rippled across the ancient world, leaving traces in the cultures that followed. Could the myths and advancements of other ancient civilizations be linked to the lost wisdom of Atlantis? There are striking parallels between the stories of Atlantis and the civilizations of Egypt, Mesopotamia, Mesoamerica, and beyond. Could these distant cultures have inherited Atlantean knowledge, or even been influenced by survivors of the lost continent? The ancient Egyptians, for example, are known for their advanced understanding of mathematics, architecture, and astronomy, fields that are also central to the mythos of Atlantis. The Great Pyramid of Giza, with its mysterious construction and astronomical alignments, has long been a source of intrigue. Could the Egyptians have inherited some of this knowledge from the survivors of Atlantis? The pyramids themselves, with their precise measurements and celestial connections, could be seen as monuments to the lost civilization, an effort to preserve the wisdom that once flourished in Atlantis. Similarly, the ancient Sumerians, credited with developing the first known written language, also had advanced knowledge of mathematics and astronomy, including the creation of a 360-degree circle, which mirrors the shape of Atlantis as described by Plato. The similarities between the Sumerian myths of gods descending from the sky and the Atlantean gods, who were said to have been descended from Poseidon, suggest a common origin or a shared belief system between these cultures. In Mesoamerica, the Mayans and Aztecs also had intricate knowledge of the stars and advanced calendar systems. Their civilizations, like those of Egypt and Sumer, seem to have been built on principles that echo the wisdom described in the Legend of Atlantis. The question arises, were these civilizations truly independent of one another, or were they connected by a common source, perhaps the lost, ancient wisdom of Atlantis? As we delve deeper into these connections, the lines between myth and history begin to blur. Could these ancient civilizations have been influenced, or even guided, by the survivors of Atlantis? And if so, what does that mean for our understanding of ancient history and the knowledge that has been passed down through the ages? For centuries, explorers, archaeologists, and adventurers have set out on expeditions to find Atlantis, each hopping to uncover the secrets of this mysterious lost continent. From the icy waters of the North Pole to the warm depths of the Mediterranean, the search for Atlantis has taken many forms. Some believe the island lies beneath the waves of the Atlantic Ocean, its ruins waiting to be discovered by modern technology. Others have turned to ancient texts and underwater scans, hopping to pinpoint the exact location described by Plato. One of the most famous searches occurred in the early 20th century, when the American explorer and researcher, Charles Berlitz, put forward his own theory that Atlantis could be located in the Bermuda Triangle, a region notorious for its strange disappearances. Berlitz's theories captivated the public, bringing Atlantis back into the mainstream spotlight. Yet, despite countless efforts to uncover evidence, the search has been largely fruitless. In recent decades, new technologies like sonar mapping and satellite imagery have opened up new possibilities. In 2014, researchers identified strange underwater formations off the coast of the Canary Islands, which some claim could be the remains of an ancient city. Other theories suggest that the remains of Atlantis lie beneath the ice sheets of Antarctica, where hidden structures might be waiting to be uncovered. Despite all the attempts, the truth remains elusive. Could the answer lie somewhere within our reach, just beyond the grasp of modern science? The search for Atlantis continues to inspire curiosity and wonder, fueling the belief that one day the truth will emerge from the depths. But until that time comes, the question remains, will we ever truly find Atlantis, or will it remain forever lost to the tides of time? As we venture deeper into the enigma of Atlantis, it becomes clear that there are forces at play, powers that have worked to keep the truth hidden for centuries. Why? What could be so significant about Atlantis that those in power would go to such great lengths to suppress its history? Could there be a reason we are kept in the dark, a hidden agenda that keeps the secrets of Atlantis buried beneath the sands of time? The idea that there is a deliberate effort to keep the truth of Atlantis hidden is not a new one. Many believe that the ancient knowledge that Atlantis possessed is far too dangerous for the world to know. What if the knowledge of Atlantis is so powerful, so transformative, that it threatens the very foundations of modern society? What if it holds the key to understanding lost technologies, hidden spiritual truths, or even the origins of human civilization itself? Could the discovery of Atlantis, and the knowledge it contained, upend everything we think we know about history, science, and our place in the universe? There is a theory, echoed by many conspiracy theorists, that powerful organizations have worked behind the scenes to suppress the truth about Atlantis. From ancient secret societies to modern governments, the idea is that those in control have intentionally kept this knowledge hidden to prevent the masses from gaining access to it. If the lost knowledge of Atlantis could be unearthed, it might shift the balance of power, and those who have worked to suppress it fear what might happen if that power is released. The question remains, what is really at stake in the search for Atlantis? Is it simply a lost city, or is there something far more profound hidden in its depths? Could Atlantis hold the key to the mysteries of the universe, or is it merely a symbol of what we have lost and what we have yet to rediscover? The answers may be closer than we think, but only time will tell if we will ever truly unlock the secrets that lie beneath the surface. The rise of Atlantis is inextricably linked to the gods. According to Plato, the story of Atlantis began with Poseidon, the mighty god of the sea. Poseidon, in his divine wisdom and power, fell in love with a mortal woman named Plato, and together they created a family of kings who would rule over the island. The divine union between Poseidon and Plato gave birth to the first ruler of Atlantis, Atlas, after whom the island was named. Plato's description paints Atlantis as an island paradise, teeming with life, natural resources, and divine blessings. The Atlanteans were believed to have been favored by the gods, enjoying their protection and favor, which contributed to the civilization's prosperity. As Atlantis expanded, the island became an emblem of wealth and power, ruled by a line of kings who were said to be direct descendants of Poseidon himself. These rulers governed with wisdom and justice, at least in the beginning. But as time passed, the divine connection began to fade. The rulers of Atlantis became more focused on their own power and riches, losing sight of the virtues that had once made them great. In many ancient mythologies, the gods often played a central role in the creation and downfall of civilizations. The gods were seen not only as creators, but as guardians, shaping the fate of entire cultures with their divine influence. The tale of Atlantis follows this pattern. The gods' blessing at the island's inception ensured the civilization's rise, but the same divine influence could not save them from their inevitable fall. The gradual corruption of the Atlanteans reflected the age-old mythological theme of hubris, the pride of man that challenges the gods and leads to his downfall. The idea that a god, such as Poseidon, had a direct hand in the creation of such a powerful society leaves us to wonder, was Atlantis truly a divine experiment, or was it a human society that reached too far, too fast, and ultimately lost its way? And what does it mean for us, generations later, to look back on such a mythic tale, wondering what truths may lie beneath the story of gods and kings? Imagine a world unlike any we know, a place where the seas are clear, the skies are always blue, and the land teems with abundance. This was the golden age of Atlantis, a civilization so advanced that its people lived in harmony with nature, science, and the divine. Plato's descriptions of Atlantis depict it as a paradise on earth, a place of unmatched beauty and extraordinary wealth. The city was said to be adorned with magnificent palaces and temples, built from precious materials like gold, silver, and orichalcum, a mysterious red metal that sparkled like fire. The Atlanteans themselves were a people of great intellect and refinement. They mastered the art of engineering, creating awe-inspiring structures that seem almost beyond imagination. The grand canals of Atlantis, stretching across the island like veins of life, were said to serve as the arteries of a bustling and vibrant city, linking the various districts of the island. These canals allowed for easy trade and travel, ensuring the prosperity of the people. And in the heart of the city stood the grand temple to Poseidon, a massive structure dedicated to the god who had bestowed his blessings upon the island. But the people of Atlantis were not just skilled engineers. They were also deeply connected to their environment, living in balance with nature. The island was said to be an ecological paradise, with lush forests, fertile lands, and an abundance of wildlife. The Atlanteans were deeply attuned to the cycles of the earth and the heavens, using their understanding of astronomy to align their cities with the stars. It was a civilization that seemed to embody the ideals of harmony, wisdom, and enlightenment. Yet for all its splendor, there is an underlying sadness in the golden age of Atlantis. What we hear about is a civilization at its peak, untouched by the dangers of the world beyond. But we know what follows the peak of every empire: a fall. Atlantis, in its beauty and brilliance, was doomed by the very arrogance that fueled its rise. The golden age of Atlantis is a tale of what could have been, a society that, if only it had maintained its balance, might have endured for millennia. But that harmony was lost as the greed of its people grew, setting the stage for the tragedy that would eventually engulf the island. The kings of Atlantis were said to be direct descendants of Poseidon, each ruling over a vast and prosperous domain. In the beginning, the kings ruled with wisdom and justice, maintaining peace and order throughout the island. The Atlanteans were a proud people, but their leaders were equally proud, believing that they were not just kings, but divine rulers chosen by the gods themselves. Their connection to Poseidon imbued them with a sense of divine right, giving them the power to govern with absolute authority. But as time went on, the once virtuous kings of Atlantis began to change. Power, wealth, and pride clouded their judgment. The people of Atlantis, too, grew complacent in their prosperity. Instead of using their divine gifts for the betterment of all, the rulers of Atlantis became obsessed with their own power and material wealth. The divine connection that had once ensured their success began to fade as their moral compass slipped. Some of the kings of Atlantis, like Atlas, the first king, were said to be noble and wise, steering the civilization through times of peace and prosperity. But as generations passed, a darker legacy began to emerge. The later kings were more concerned with expanding their empire, acquiring riches, and asserting their dominance over neighboring lands. They waged wars of conquest, showing no mercy to those who stood in their way. This shift in the Atlantean leadership mirrored the downfall of many great civilizations. What was once a rule of justice and peace became one of tyranny and greed. The question arises, were the kings of Atlantis truly divinely chosen, or were they simply human beings who succumbed to the same flaws that have plagued rulers throughout history? Were they meant to be guardians of their people, or were they destined to become tyrants, consumed by their desire for power? Could Atlantis have been more than just an isolated civilization? Could it have shared a connection with the great civilizations that followed it? If we accept the possibility that Atlantis was real, we must consider whether its influence reached far beyond the island's borders. In fact, there are striking similarities between the myths and legacies of Atlantis and other ancient cultures, suggesting that there may have been a shared source of wisdom, or even direct contact between Atlantis and the civilizations that came after it. Take, for example, the ancient Egyptians. The Egyptians were known for their incredible advancements in architecture, astronomy, and mathematics, fields that seem eerily similar to those described in the Legend of Atlantis. The Great Pyramid of Giza, with its precise alignments to the stars, is a testament to the Egyptians' advanced understanding of the cosmos. Could this knowledge have been passed down from the Atlanteans? The idea that the pyramids were built using knowledge inherited from a lost civilization fits well within the narrative of Atlantis, being a hub of advanced learning and innovation. Similarly, the Mayans, with their extraordinary astronomical knowledge and advanced calendar systems, exhibit traits that echo the wisdom attributed to Atlantis. The Mayans were able to track the movements of the stars with remarkable accuracy, building cities aligned to celestial bodies. The possibility that these ancient cultures were influenced by the Atlanteans cannot be easily dismissed. In fact, some researchers suggest that the Atlanteans might have been responsible for spreading knowledge across the globe, planting the seeds of wisdom that grew into the great civilizations of the ancient world. The similarities between the architectural wonders, the myths of gods and heroes, and the knowledge of the stars suggest that there may have been a shared source of inspiration, a lost civilization that shaped the course of human history. Could the influence of Atlantis extend further than we know? Could the seeds of knowledge and culture planted by the Atlanteans have sprouted in the civilizations that followed, even if they were unaware of their origins? The fall of Atlantis is as tragic as it is mysterious. According to Plato, the great island was destroyed in a single day and night, swallowed by the sea in a cataclysmic event. But the reasons behind this destruction are far from clear. Was Atlantis simply a victim of natural disaster, or was there something more at play, perhaps the wrath of the gods themselves? The story of Atlantis's downfall is often seen as a reflection of the ancient mythological theme of hubris, the pride of mankind that attracts the ire of the gods. Atlantis, once blessed by Poseidon and the gods, had grown too proud. Its rulers, who once governed with wisdom and grace, had become corrupt, blinded by their wealth and power. In many ancient myths, the gods punish those who exceed their limits, who rise too high, only to fall just as dramatically. Could the destruction of Atlantis have been a divine punishment, a retribution for the sins of the Atlanteans? The concept of divine retribution was common in the ancient world. The gods, in their omnipotence, were thought to have the power to bring about the downfall of civilizations that strayed from the path of virtue. Atlantis, in its arrogance, may have invoked the wrath of the gods, leading to its sudden and violent destruction. If this was the case, the fall of Atlantis serves as a cautionary tale, a reminder that no matter how great a civilization may become, it is ultimately subject to the will of the divine. But could there be another explanation for the fall of Atlantis? Was the destruction caused by human error, technological misuse, or a natural cataclysm? The story of Atlantis's downfall is a reminder that no matter how much we achieve, we must always be aware of the forces beyond our control and the delicate balance between power and humility. What if the most significant legacy of Atlantis was not its grandeur or its power, but the knowledge it held? The ancient texts speak of a civilization that possessed wisdom far beyond what we can even imagine. Some believe that the Atlanteans were masters of science and philosophy, but also of mystical and esoteric knowledge that could have radically changed the course of human history. What if they held the key to unlocking mysteries of the universe that we've only just begun to understand? The Atlanteans are often described as having advanced technology, far more advanced than anything we have today. Imagine a society that could harness energy in ways that we've only dreamed of. Could they have discovered the secrets of free energy or manipulated the elements to power their world? Some theories suggest that the Atlanteans possessed knowledge of sound frequencies, magnetic fields, or crystal energy that allowed them to build massive structures, control weather patterns, or even communicate across vast distances without modern technology. These concepts, once thought to be science fiction, now find themselves creeping into the fringes of modern scientific exploration. What if Atlantis, with its unearthly advances, was simply too ahead of its time, its knowledge too dangerous for us to fully comprehend? But the lost knowledge of Atlantis wasn't just technological. Could the Atlanteans have also understood the deeper mysteries of the human soul and the universe? Some suggest that their knowledge included profound spiritual wisdom, an understanding of consciousness, energy, and the interconnectedness of all things. Theories abound that the Atlanteans had the ability to access higher states of consciousness, perhaps through meditation, sacred rituals, or even advanced mind-altering techniques that would allow them to tap into realms of existence far beyond our current comprehension. What if they had discovered a way to achieve immortality, or at least transcend the physical limits of the human body? Could they have known secrets about the true nature of reality, perhaps even truths about our place in the cosmos that have been hidden from us for millennia? Yet, as with many things in the history of Atlantis, the question remains, why was this knowledge lost? Did the Atlanteans guard their secrets, or was it deliberately erased from history by those who came after them? Could it be that the knowledge of Atlantis was too powerful, too dangerous, and had to be hidden from the world? In the years following the island's destruction, were their efforts made to suppress any remaining fragments of their wisdom? And if so, who was responsible for this suppression? Perhaps the answers are hidden, waiting to be uncovered. Was Atlantis a place of extraordinary human achievement, or was there something more, something otherworldly, that gave the Atlanteans their power? In the myths and legends that surround Atlantis, there are hints that the Atlanteans were not entirely like us. They were gifted with abilities that went beyond the ordinary, abilities that suggest they may have been more than just human. One of the most intriguing aspects of the Atlantean myth is the suggestion that they possessed mystical powers. Could they have had the ability to manipulate energy or control the elements? There are accounts that describe the Atlanteans as being able to command the forces of nature, summoning storms, creating lightning, or even influencing the behavior of animals. If they had mastered energy, could they have understood and harnessed forces we have yet to discover? What if they knew how to manipulate the fabric of reality itself, bending it to their will in ways we cannot even imagine? The possibility that the Atlanteans had supernatural powers is not as far-fetched as it seems. Throughout history, many ancient cultures have claimed that their rulers, sages, or deities were capable of extraordinary feats. Could the gods of Atlantis, who were said to have been descended from Poseidon, have possessed abilities far beyond the reach of mortal men? Some believe that the Atlanteans were not just spiritually enlightened, but physically enhanced as well, perhaps possessing advanced genetic traits or abilities that allowed them to transcend the limits of the human body. Could they have had access to secret knowledge that made them physically superior to the rest of humanity? The idea that the Atlanteans were more than human opens up a Pandora's box of questions. Were the people of Atlantis the result of a forgotten evolution, or were they part of a larger, cosmic plan that reached beyond Earth? Did they have access to knowledge and power that could change the course of human history? And if they did, what happened to this knowledge? Was it lost forever with the destruction of Atlantis, or could remnants of it still be hidden somewhere in the world, waiting to be uncovered? The architectural marvels of Atlantis were said to be like nothing the world had ever seen. Plato's accounts tell us of grand, impossibly perfect structures, temples, palaces, and cities that were designed with a level of sophistication that would not be replicated for thousands of years. The Atlanteans were said to be master architects, capable of constructing buildings that were not only beautiful but engineered to stand the test of time. But how much of this is just myth, and how much could be based on real, lost achievements? One of the most famous features of Atlantis was its Grand Canal system, a series of waterways that connected the various districts of the island. These canals were said to have been constructed with such precision that they allowed for efficient trade and transportation, facilitating the smooth running of the entire civilization. But the canals weren't just functional. They were also beautifully designed, with intricate patterns that reflected the celestial alignments of the stars. Could the Atlanteans have had an understanding of geometry and astronomy that allowed them to design cities that were both efficient and perfectly aligned with the cosmos? Beyond the canals, there were reports of monumental temples dedicated to the gods, especially Poseidon. These temples were said to have been made of the most precious materials, including gold, silver, and a mysterious red metal known as orichalcum. The sheer scale and magnificence of these structures were described as awe-inspiring, rivaling anything built in later civilizations. Could these temples have been designed not just as places of worship, but as sources of energy, harnessing the mystical properties of the earth, the stars, and the elements? The idea that the Atlanteans could have designed such advanced, awe-inspiring structures raises the question: were they simply ahead of their time, or were they tapping into a forgotten, ancient knowledge that has been lost to history? Could their architectural wonders have been built using technology that we have yet to rediscover? And if so, what happened to that knowledge when Atlantis was destroyed? Did it vanish with the island, or did it survive, scattered across the world, waiting for us to find it once more? The fall of Atlantis was not just a tragic event. It was, according to some accounts, a foretold one. The idea that the downfall of Atlantis was not an accident but something that was destined to happen is a theme that runs through many ancient texts and prophecies. Did the Atlanteans know their civilization was doomed? And if so, what could they have done to prevent it? The concept of prophecy plays a significant role in many ancient cultures. The idea that a great civilization could fall as part of a larger cosmic cycle is not unique to Atlantis. In many myths, the downfall of great empires is seen as inevitable, written in the stars, foretold by seers, or encoded in ancient texts. Could the fall of Atlantis have been a part of this cycle? Some ancient prophecies, including those from Egypt and Mesopotamia, speak of a great cataclysm that would wipe away entire civilizations, only to be replaced by new ones. Could Atlantis have been one of the first civilizations to fall as part of this cycle? The Atlanteans, with their advanced knowledge of astronomy and the cosmos, may have understood these cycles better than we do today. Some believe that the people of Atlantis saw their downfall coming and tried to prepare for it. Did they attempt to warn other civilizations? Did they pass down knowledge in an effort to preserve their wisdom, knowing that their time was limited? Or did they simply ignore the signs, too consumed by their power to realize that their fate was sealed? As we look back on the legends and prophecies surrounding Atlantis, we are left to wonder, was the fall of this ancient civilization inevitable? And if it was, what lessons can we learn from their story to prevent our own civilization from following the same path? The mysteries surrounding Atlantis have captivated the world for millennia, but there are those who believe that the true story of Atlantis has been deliberately suppressed. Why would anyone want to hide the truth about a lost civilization? What is so important about Atlantis that powerful forces would go to great lengths to ensure its secrets remain buried? One possibility is that the knowledge contained in Atlantis was simply too dangerous for the world to handle. Imagine a civilization with technology, wisdom, and spiritual knowledge far beyond what we possess today. What if Atlantis had discovered secrets that, if revealed, could disrupt the status quo and shift the balance of power in the world? Could the powers that be have suppressed the truth about Atlantis to maintain control over human knowledge and progress? Another theory is that Atlantis was not just a civilization, but a symbol, a warning about the dangers of unchecked power, greed, and technological advancement. If the fall of Atlantis was the result of the people's hubris, their disregard for the balance of nature and the divine, then perhaps the suppression of its story is a way to ensure that humanity does not repeat its mistakes. Could the elites of today be keeping the story of Atlantis hidden to prevent us from realizing the dangers of our own technological and environmental missteps? And then there's the possibility that Atlantis was simply too close to the truth about human origins and our place in the universe. What if the Atlanteans knew things about our origins, about the true nature of reality, that we're still struggling to understand? Could this knowledge, if rediscovered, change everything we thought we knew about ourselves? Perhaps, just as the knowledge of Atlantis was suppressed in the past, it is being kept from us now to protect those who hold power. In the end, the question remains, what is the truth about Atlantis, and why has it been hidden for so long? Are we simply left to wonder, or will the secrets of this lost civilization eventually be revealed?